Good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get this meeting going. Roll call, please, Ms. Lang.
Ms. Miller?
Here.
Ms. Parker?
Here.
Ms. Reed?
Here.
Ms. Schooley?
Here.
Dr. Varda?
All right, I would like to call this board meeting of October 20th, 2022 to order. I'd also like to thank our live simultaneous Spanish interpreters for joining us tonight. We are, as always, live streaming our meeting, and that link can be found on the district's website. This school year, we have adjusted our meeting structures. The first meeting of the month is a study session with presentations and discussions designed to provide background and context for items that this board will vote on potentially during our regular business meeting. Given that we are undertaking a review and discussion at the study session, we anticipate many of the items that we've reviewed will be placed on the consent agenda for our consideration during our regular meeting, which is the meeting that we are at. To get us going, please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve tonight's meeting agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda for the board meeting of October 20th, 2022 as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any objections? Hearing none, it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda for the board meeting of October 20th, 2022 as presented. Roll call, please, Ms. Lang.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Ms. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Schooley? Dr. Varda?
The agenda is approved. All right, our only presentation this evening for our study session is to hear the district safety and security update. Jeffco Public Schools is committed to protecting the safety and well-being of students and staff. Students learn best when they can attend classes in a secure and welcoming environment. Jeffco's 145 plus security staff are at work 24 hours a day protecting our schools. To update the board on the district's unified command system and school resource officer program, and to recognize staff who have received awards from the department. Superintendent Derlin, will you please introduce our presenters and outline for the public what we will hear from your staff this evening?
Yes, hello. Thank you for being here. We're excited to provide this update for the Board of Education, and I would like to introduce Jeff Pearson and Mary Ann Pratt, who are here to support the board with their study of this topic. Thank you so much for what you both do every day for our schools and our students to keep everyone safe in Jeffco.
Thank you very much. We're excited to be here. President Schooley, members of the board, Superintendent Dorland, we would like to start out, as you said, and recognize some individuals that are so important to the work that we do every single day. 3 of those 5 individuals are here. I do want to recognize all 5, so I'm going to start and speak to the 2 that were unable to be with us. First is our school safety champion of the year, Miss Wendy Dorn, who's the community superintendent. Wendy's work as a district leader and her dedication to be a mission partner around the work of school safety is second to none, as she integrates her role and leadership qualities in every single situation. We appreciate Wendy. The second is one of our school, Gordon Beasley School Resource Officers of the Year, Officer Kennedy Bleak from the Lakewood SRO from Lakewood Police Department. Kennedy is an SRO for 6 of our Lakewood schools. Kennedy's energy, engaging personality, and ability to truly connect with our students has been so integral to both the safety and welcoming environment culture that we expect from all of our schools. Thank you, Officer Blake. Now the 3 that are in attendance. Our second Gordon Beasley School Resource Officer of the Year, and we're going to have members of our team come up and present a plaque and an award. Would Mr. Joe Mallory please join us? Joe is in his 2nd year as the SRO for Wheat Ridge. He serves 8 of our schools in the Wheat Ridge community, and last year basically served the entire Wheat Ridge community on his own as the SRO officer. Joe's work ethic, appreciation for serving students, and his ability to truly balance his work as a law enforcement officer with being that trusted adult and that students often seek out for counsel is truly admirable. Thank you, Officer Mallory. The next 2 are our Jeffco Department of School Safety Lifetime Legacy Awards. It takes a very special and dedicated person to take on the SRO position. These next two gentlemen have gone above and beyond the expectations and duties for the position we call a school resource officer. We honor and thank them both for the service. Would Officer John Zabrenik and Officer Barry Malloy please join us? Officer Zabrenik is retired from the Arvada Police Department and has served in 18 years as an SRO. Officer Malloy from the Wheat Ridge Department served 5 years with Arvada and then completed his 15 years in Wheat Ridge, and they both left us last year. So we thank them both for their service and everything they've done for Jeffco Schools.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we just want to talk about our work. I want to ground us a little bit and just talk about what we term as kind of our new normal. We believe we're living in a desensitized world that has very small outlook on the future. Our kids act on impulse and oftentimes without fear of consequence of their actions. Our schools have learned to adapt and prepare for situations in what we see as an unprecedented time in education. The threats and increased crime rates across our county and the country and this brazen culture trickles down into our schools. Schools experience anxiety, pressure, and often the weight of these tremendous issues every single day. Who would have thought Narcan would be an expected part of our everyday toolkit in our schools? Colorado Resource Center for School Safety had a presentation to the school summit that I was at, and Governor Polis spoke to us and gave a little bit of an outlook on where he's at and where the state's at. He talked about the prioritization of safety for all students in schools, to include best practices, but also to identify the intensifying mental health and behavioral needs of our students in today's world. And I think it's our job to take those words and use them in our schools and continue the work that we do every single day. We operate under one mantra, the duty to protect. It's a sacred responsibility to our department. It encompasses our passion and dedication to keep our schools safe and our staff safe and for them to thrive every single day. We're honored and fortunate to serve our school community in a county that supports school safety, embraces the diversity of our population, celebrates our cultures and backgrounds, and encourages our full participation in knowing our students by name, strength, and need. There's 4 principles that we operate through. The foundation of who we are is about early prevention and intervention, emergency preparedness, rapid response, and sustainable recovery. And I'll cover each of those in our presentation. I want to start with what I believe is where we can continue to improve every single day and should continue to look at improvements. And that's around prevention. When I think about a safe climate and culture, and it's what we build and it's what we talk about and we train our administrators on, it's built on relationships, trusts, and connections. It's very difficult to track around prevention or measure data because oftentimes prevention is immeasurable. Our campus supervisors, the campus security team, they serve our high schools, some of our middle schools, and a number of our K-8s. The work they do is so important to the intel and to keeping our schools and our kids safe. The most recent bond approved additional FTE for us to put put in a campus supervisor in every one of our middle schools. Pandemic kind of shot that plan down. We're slowly getting back on track and providing a campus security personnel in every one of our middle schools and our high schools, and we're on track to do that down the road. Communications is so important, and I think about public relations. Our communication department has been so integral in working directly with us when it comes to that transparency that our community expects and demands. They're there for us on any event. They're there to provide factual, quick information and to connect with our principals in our schools so our community knows what's going on in any event. Our parent partnerships. This is probably one of the most important pieces that we embrace every single day. When I think about, there's a group that we met with, the Be Smart, and I know some of you are knowledgeable about the Be Smart program. They talk a lot about improvements in safe to tell or promotion of safe to tell. The safe gun storage laws, the new law here in Colorado. Trauma-informed practices for our students and how our students are reacting and adapting to both our lockdowns, drills, and the things that we experience every single day in our schools. We've presented at PTA accountability meetings. We have a Watchdogs Dads program in a number of our schools that are so important. It's our community that's stepping up and they're being a part of our schools to keep our schools safe. And you've got a sticker in front of you that talks about it's a shared responsibility. It's not just our job. It's not the school's job. It's the entire community's job to keep our schools safe. And we truly believe that. The Frank DeAngelis Training Center stands alone on its own, as we all know. It's a one-of-a-kind training facility. All of the entities across the metro area, even across the nation, the FBI, the Navy SEALs have all been in this one-of-a-kind training facility. And they come for one reason, and that's to train on safety. Oftentimes it's community safety, but most of it is around school safety. We had a chance to present to a number of legislators, senators, city council members, and members of Governor Paulus's contingent. And I actually heard today from one of the representatives that there's very good news potentially coming when that budget is released. They were impressed. They understand the significance and importance of what we do every day and how important that training facility is for us to keep kids safe. And then finally, what I believe is probably one of the most important parts of prevention is safe to tell. As we all know, safe to tell has been around since 2004. What that means is every single one of our kids, seniors and all, have had safe to tell for their entire lifetime. So when safe to tell, we talk about safe to tell, the number of incidents are going up, the reports. There's good and bad with that. We're also seeing a number of safe to tell reports that are being used inaccurately or inappropriately, and we're dealing with the Attorney General's office on that. But I can promise you that safe to tell is the number one toolkit we have for anonymity and reporting of any kind of issues, any concerns that we have, potential threats. Mary Ann's going to talk later about our threat assessment program, and the majority of what we go through and the threats that come to our attention are given to us through that Safe to Tell program. Next, preparation. 5 years ago, we instilled an administrator mandatory training academy. We basically bring all of our administrators in small groups, and we train them on best practice, on things that we've learned over the past year, things that we're hearing from the state and the federal government around best practices. And we don't just sit and talk at them. We provide them an environment where they get a tabletop and talk through potential situations. We give them scenarios that we've gone through the year before or things that we've seen in traumatic events across the nation. And we allow them times with their teams and with their articulation areas to really work through what would happen, what would it look like if something came to my doorstep. Let's work through it so that we're prepared. And they're always in preparation for anything that comes across their day. I will tell you, we talk about it as a storm. The storm may come in small amounts. It may be a little thing, and it may be that big storm. But our job is to prepare them for whatever it is that comes across their everyday. Our emergency management team is responsible for our lockdown drills, our evacuation drills, and all the SRP. They also do initial audits in our schools when we do these drills. What's come out of those audits are oftentimes doors that are unlatched or doors that need improvement or locking mechanisms that don't work. And so the amazing part of that drill status in our emergency management team is it's not just about the drill, it's an audit of our buildings. And it's an audit so we can prioritize some of the higher needs to keep our buildings and our kids safe every single day. To date, they've gone through 130 schools for lockdown drills. They go through and do every single school in the first semester conducts their lockdown drill. The second semester is spent doing evacuation, shelter drills to support our kids. But they work tirelessly, sometimes 3 and 4 lockdowns per day. And I know there's been concern about the lockdown drills, and I want to be sure that I'm clear. Every one of our drills is age and grade appropriate. We have amazing videos that we show that has eliminated the amount of time we're in schools so that they have more time to engage in learning. And I promise you, those drills are very age appropriate. We partner with our SROs and our law enforcement entities, and we work that together in a unified system. And we go in and clear, and we're really happy about how those turn out each and every single year. I can't say enough about our facilities partnership. when we talk about the bond and the work that we're doing in our schools, the target hardening. Our job is simply to make our buildings less difficult or less attractive for someone to get into. And the work that we've done, and Mr. Bell and Mr. Reed with the facilities department, has been tremendous in a district this large. We've added or are adding secure vestibules to every one of our sites. And those vestibules provide an environment where students or parents, anybody's visiting, we can vet them when they come in. They may not need access to our building. We can vet them in the secured vestibule area before they get access to our building. Oftentimes it's just to drop and relay information or to drop items off at the school. Target hardening. We've done a lot of work there. We've done in the secure vestibules at the elementary schools, we've added a 3M film, which is a film that goes in between the two glass panes that negates some of the issues we've seen at other schools for a potential perpetrator to get through those windows. And you'll see those at all of our elementary schools in the vestibules. We're invited to every single one of their meetings. We get to be a part of both the initial phase, the design phase, and then finally the final phases, so that security and safety becomes a high priority when we're developing all these facility environments in our schools. Our patrol division, we've got some members of them. If you saw them here earlier, you'll see them. They look like a law enforcement division, but their job is to keep safety, security, and take care of all of our school environments. Oftentimes, they're on site as quick as, if not quicker than, our law enforcement partners. They serve in a unified command, and they train just like law enforcement officers. The amazing thing is they are a part of our culture. You'll see them in and out of school buildings all day, checking in with principals, high-fiving kids, doing presentations with the elementary schools. At events like this, at our activities, our athletics, you'll see them there as a support and to ensure that our community knows that we've got safety measures in place. Our dispatch, which is 24/7 like our patrol division, right now they've taken, or to date, 6,121 calls in that dispatch center. That's a lot. They are inundated often, but wow, when we talk about the nucleus of information that they can then distribute out and get out to the right individuals, and then if there's threats or issues in our schools, that immense work that they do gets the right people at the right time in the right locations 24/7. You heard a little bit of the partnerships and heard some from, or got to see some of the amazing work that our SRO and our law enforcement entities do with us. I could sit here and talk all day about how amazing those partnerships are, to the tune of our entities providing us our SROs for all of our schools. That's a big deal, and we often meet with them, maybe not as often as we should, but we try and prioritize our calibration of understanding of the work. When we meet, we talk about what's the priority, what is the responsibility when law enforcement shows up, how do we as an R1 school division show up, what is our responsibility versus theirs, and when do they engage. We're really excited about the program Westminster's brought that others are latching onto, and it's data. Every month we're receiving some data on the number of incidents or connections that our SROs have had with students, what they were for, what the outcome was, and what we're seeing is an overwhelming amount of time they're connected with kids is for counsel and connections, and it's not for some of the things that we're hearing about in the media. They are really there as that additional trusted adult, and kids are seeking them out for counsel and just want to connect with them in great ways. Another caring, trusted adult in our buildings. Trespass investigations that we have in place. This is for our parents or community members. Oftentimes it's students from the high school down to the middle schools that are unwanted at a lot of our events or at our schools. We often get parents that are upset or frustrated, and they seem to show up and cause threats or cause a big disruption. We have an investigation process where we kind of give them a, hey, this is not okay, your behavior is not going to be tolerated. And then we sit and investigate it, and we talk to those parents and let them know that we're not going to tolerate it. And then we move forward if we need to. And we really believe in this investigation process. Our law enforcement partners support us in this. And it's a way of saying that we expect behavior, appropriate behavior from all of our parents and any community members that enter our school or our school premises. Next, I'm going to let Mary Ann talk about the threat management process and our team.
Thank you, Jeff. I was thinking this morning about a threat assessment or specific that I wanted to talk about. And then this morning at our review, We review our threat assessments, the building levels, every 2 times a week. So this morning we had 15 threat assessments that were submitted from the schools. And I think for the board to know the level of concern that the schools have for so many of our students, not only for their safety, their own safety, but also for other students' safety. Some of the threat assessments we reviewed, I had planned on sharing. I'm going to keep it confidential, but a manifesto that was created. The student was placed on a mental health hold. We reviewed another threat assessment this morning for a student that we received 4 safe to tell calls on 2 nights a week, 2 days ago, that included the principal having to send a community letter out because of the threat that was made to the school. And this was a situation where the student had overdosed on Benadryl 2 weeks prior. So we are really seeing these impacted students, not only just suicidal ideation, but also homicidal. Our goal as a threat assessment team, and I really want to make this clear, is not to be punitive, but to figure out, number one, is the student safe to be in a Jeffco building? And then what services are we going to help put in place so the student can be successful? And that isn't just academically. We want the student definitely to graduate. But what are we looking at in terms of outside services? Are we connecting that family, that student up with mental health resources? Are we looking at the safety aspect? A lot of times this runs parallel to the IEP process as well as the criminal justice process, because a lot of our students are charged criminally that are involved in the threat assessment process, not due to specifically the threat, but something that might have happened alongside that. So we're also looking at the IEP process, the criminal justice process, if there's a Title IX involved. So we're really looking at the whole child and looking at what we can do to support these students. We have seen a significant increase in our threat assessments. I have the data, and I'm happy to share it with you over the last 4 years of the number of district level threat assessments that the school district has completed. I think it's just coincides with what Jeff said, what's going on in our society, in our community, and what these students are burdened with. We did a threat assessment on a student that the family is in the witness protection program, and the student comes to school and is afraid and brings his issues that go on at home to school and threatens other elementary school students. And so as a school district, what are we doing to support these students that are coming into our building with these additional concerns and issues? I think we have a very robust threat assessment process. I think we've had good results with a lot. We had a recent incident at one of our high schools that showed to be very successful with parents that weren't even aware of what was going on with the student. And once we disclosed and shared the information, guns were removed from the home within 2 days. The parents were more than willing. They said, we want to roll our sleeves up. We want to work with the school district. We want to do whatever we can to make sure that our son is safe and the school is safe. So I think we see a lot of positives, but we also see where parents are not involved or as compliant or concerned. So in terms of the threat assessment process, I'm happy to provide you with the data and talk further if you want to hear about that. We also have the threat assessment team is also responsible for the reunification when we have crisis response. My team is always there. We are responsible for making sure that the students, if they're separated from parent, that we are connecting them with the correct people, obviously, and doing the reunification process. We are very fortunate to also have the assistance and have Dr. Nicoletti, who is known, nationally for his work on threat assessments, assessing threats, and we use him frequently to consult with on some of our higher level students Dr. Nicoletti also is involved with our Frank DeAngelis Center, and we've got a grant working with the Department of Homeland Security, so we're doing a lot of trainings with that as well.
With that, we want you to know, and we want our community to know, that we believe Jeffco Public Schools is a safe place for all of our students to learn, for our teachers to teach, and for everyone to thrive. We cherish and embrace the diverse cultures and the uniqueness of our school communities and all of our kids. And we are dedicated to, as we said earlier, the duty to protect, take care of our kids and our staff every single day, 24/7. Thank you.
Thank you very much to both of you. It's hard to listen to as a somebody that we all want the best for all of our kids, and I'm also grateful for your team's service and in trying to problem solve and be creative about how we help support students and keep our school safe. Board, this is our opportunity to engage with our friends. So is there anyone that would like to open up with questions or comments for our guests? Ms. Miller?
Thank you very, very much. Sorry. Thank you very much for the presentation and all the work. I know it has been a roller coaster of a couple of years, to say the least. And I would be interested in the 4-year trends. I'm wondering if there's been impact since the Claire Davis Act, and if that is influencing us in a good way, so that we have a little bit more understanding of how that has changed over time. That would be of interest to me. I don't know if anybody else would want that information, but that would be of interest for me. And I guess the other question, when you said the Safe to Tell, which has been around for a child's entire career, that's remember when it came out, so that's a very interesting statistic for our seniors, actually. Are we finding that our students are using it more, or is it community teachers? How is it being used in terms of just the data set of information coming to us?
The majority of the reports are coming from students, and we know up front that oftentimes, anytime there's a critical issue or a concern, it's often a peer, a brother, or somebody in the school that hears about it, knows about it, and that's where the majority of the reports. We definitely have a number of community members or parents that often exercise the opportunity to work with their younger kiddos and teach them how to do Safe to Tell. So I think we're getting some adult conversation through Safe to Tell. We've even gotten into some staff members oftentimes that have put some Safe to Tell information out. Not always completely appropriate, as I will say, but we are working with the Attorney General's office on what that looks like.
And when you see you're working with the Attorney Generals and what that looks like, it's just parameters, or people understanding a little bit better about what can come in through Safe to Tell, what's, as you said, appropriate, or what's the right information to be provided through Safe to Tell?
Unfortunately, we've seen issues where a student is targeted potentially through bullying and Safe to Tell. Maybe it's 2 a.m. and a report of suicidal thoughts are happening, and it's not true. They're targeting an individual. Law enforcement will show up at that door at 2 a.m. and scare those parents, and we find out that it's not true at all. And so it's instances like that where we're trying to work with the Attorney General's office and trying to figure out through the anonymity of it, how do we then negate these misuses of Safe to Tell.
And they've already made changes to that, like they'll flag Safe to Tell so we're aware.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Other board members? Ms. Reed?
I have a couple of questions about lockdowns and then another one about kind of demographics of who you're contacting. So when it comes to the lockdown drills, I would like to know how we're monitoring the emotional impact on our students. Are they being traumatized? Is it increasing their anxiety to be going through this, or do we know that they're feeling safe and secure about it and sort of, taking in stride like they would, say, a fire drill? There's also a lot of concern that's been expressed about students who are in a school participating in lockdown drills and therefore knowing the drill, literally, and therefore being able to work around it if they are planning to do something violent at their school. So those are my two questions about that. And then my third question, So a community group had brought to my attention sort of the demographic proportions of students who in Jefferson County have contact with SROs in a law enforcement sort of way versus the racial demographics of the school. And what I actually found was that in most cases, they're like spot on, which I think is what should be. But it seems like we do have some schools where it is disproportionate, and I'm wondering if you guys take a look at that information ever, and if so, what you do with it.
We don't have that data currently in front of us, but I can tell you we can definitely look at it and bring that up. I think oftentimes we do work with our discipline office around some of the discipline measures because our teams will show up whenever there's a larger scale event that would require some kind of a report. And so we can track some of our own CAD data in our internal system and take a look. I think oftentimes you see disproportionate data that's probably relevant to what you're speaking of. I don't think we see that as consistent as I think what I've heard or what's out there, but we'd be glad to look into that and provide some data to you down the road. To speak to the lockdowns, we gauge our kids through the lockdown arena, and we gauge that through when we walk into the classrooms and we ask the students, do you have any questions? How'd it go? Our kids, we have not yet, in my 5 years, have engaged a classroom where students were traumatized in any way. Oftentimes it's asking great questions. Well, what if I was in the hallway, mister? Or what about that door? Can I leave throughout that door? They're just asking really intelligent questions. I definitely think there's pockets or small numbers of parents and students that have been exposed to trauma prior to that we often find out either after the fact or we should know about at some point, and then we engage those parents as we can, and we get it. We understand our goal is not to re-traumatize. It's to be emergency prepared and not emergency scared. So we do everything in our power to ensure that the mechanism is to train our students and our staff muscle memory of what to do each and every time, and they can carry those traits with them, not just in schools. They can take it to church, to the mall, wherever all this is happening in our society. Those same traits to the SRP work anywhere they're at. And did I miss one of your questions?
What about the fact that students who attend a school know what the lockdown drill is like?
I think that's a question that's been asked ever since the SRP started, and I think it's something we measure. What I will tell you is in the research, the number of issues or traumatic events that have happened across our nation, not one of them have really taken a look where we've had background that they've studied the drills themselves and that they've had internal intel to what that looks like. I think absolutely there's always that balance of students who are trained on what we do. We are very careful about not sharing all of our intel on how we train and what we do, especially at the FDC. So a component of what we do is really the lockdown mechanism. How and when our officers or our teams go in and engage through a lockdown process itself in a real event, they'll never know what that looks like. So I think we still have some anonymity there when it comes to the actual intel.
If I can speak to the charges and our SROs charging students, I think the mindset now of our district attorney's office is more preventative. So we have programs like diversion. We have a pathways program. The goal also is getting students to the juvenile assessment center to get an assessment to figure out what services are needed rather than charging them. There's been a decline in juvenile filings.
Great. Other questions? Yep, Ms. Parker.
Thank you so much for this presentation. And I want to make my comments in two areas, and then I have a few specific questions. My first area is to thank you so much for what you do. I believe that Jefferson County goes above and beyond safety protocols and responses and resources and everything. I have visited the Frank DeAngelis Training Center. I got to see what you go through. And as one person who sent me an email about school safety said, it's both comforting and disheartening to see what we have there. So thank you very much. I appreciate what you do. You've been put in a position where it's very difficult to protect our students and our staff. And you're doing it amazingly well. So thank you for that. The other side of my comments is to address our country, because you've been put in this position where you have to go above and beyond, and you have to train such wonderful retired law enforcement people. We have SROs in all of our schools. We do it because in our country, it's dangerous for our kids to go to school. I saw this morning there was a bit on TV about kids in Ukraine and how they're bringing their backpacks now with things that they can take with them into bombing shelters. Ukraine's at war, and hopefully the war will end for them and they don't have to train that way. The United States, we train our kids, and we're not at war. We're the only country in the world that has to do this when we send our kids to school. So we are failing in so many different ways. And some of the things that I wanted to say here too, about the lockdown drills. I understand we have to do it as like a fire drill. Kids need to know what to do if there's a fire. And in the United States, they need to do if there's a shooter. But my granddaughter, when she was 7 years old, came home from school after a lockdown drill. She told her mom, I hope I'm in the playground when the shooter comes because I can just run home and then that'll be good. That's the best place I can be. And that night, when she was going to bed, she said to her mom, "Mom, I can't run home. I have to go back in and get Brady." Brady was her 4-year-old brother who was in preschool there. What kind of a country is teaching 7-year-olds you got to worry about your 4-year-old sibling if there's a problem? This is just unconscionable. Also, when you were talking about guns and taking guns out of the homes when you do have an incident, you work with the families. I am a court-appointed special advocate. I work with kids who are neglected and abused. And one of the kids I worked with was a 7-year-old who found a loaded gun and picked it up and shot and killed a 3-year-old sibling. So you mentioned some of the things we have in Colorado. We have safe storage. It's the law in Colorado. I think as a school district, I would like to make sure that we communicate that, make sure that all families know about it. It is the law. And you mentioned the Be Smart program. Again, this is a very helpful thing for parents to know. It gives you the word so you can communicate with your neighbors if there's a play date you're setting up. And we have training where you use texting. And you just say, "I'm really excited that Alex is coming over for a play date, just to let you know she doesn't have any allergies to any animals or food. And just wondering if you have any guns, are they stored safely?" And you do it in reverse. "I'm excited that Susie's coming over. Just so you know, we have a dog. We do have guns, but they're locked up." If we can get that to be part of our normal conversation in this society that we're living in, it will help. Because statistics show that most of the gun tragedies, and by the way, in the United States now, guns are the leading cause of death among children. Again, this is a national disgrace. But if we can do small things to keep the guns locked up so kids don't accidentally find them. And you didn't mention yet, but I will ask you in a minute about suicides, because guns are used in about 50% of suicides. Suicides are a leading cause of death in Colorado for kids and adults. So you mentioned, Marianne, the taking guns away too. We have a red flag law in Colorado. I would like to have our district and all of your support personnel work closely with law enforcement, because family members and law enforcement members can petition for an emergency restraining order to take guns out of the home if you know that some member in that household is going through some mental challenges, some health challenges there. So I do want, as a district, for us to make sure in our communications with the community all the different ways they can help to reduce these actions that happen in our country. So I do want to ask a few specific questions. First of all, about suicides. Can you give us a little update on how our district is doing right now regarding suicides?
And Terry Walderman and her team handle the suicide risk assessments. They have that data. I handle all the threat assessment. I don't have it, but I can get it and provide it to you.
Okay, because I think it's another area where we need mental health support and just preventive actions, because it has to be preventive. You don't recover from it. On the area of recovery, though, I will say that a month or so ago, I saw on the calendar, district calendar, an event outside of Columbine High School that was called Principal Recovery Program. And I thought it was referring to COVID recovery. That's what I thought. And I went to it, and it was really for principals in schools that had mass school shootings to help them recover so that they could help their schools recover. And that's just an ever-growing number of people there. Well, again, it's shocking. I wanted to ask you about the dispatch calls you mentioned. We had 6,121 calls. What makes an incident, turns it into a dispatch call?
We often ask our schools to make sure that they take the weight off of any incident, and we're really talking any major incident. It could be disruptive students. It may be an unwanted visitor. It may be we had a threat or we saw a safe to tell. It could be we have a parent that we feel is intoxicated. You name it. Anything that schools want our partnership on, or want our law enforcement or our SROs or our one units to dispatch to, they'll call us and we'll work through it. Oftentimes, it may not need that level. Oftentimes, they may have, oh, our power just went out, or we've got an issue going on. We can then direct that information over to the right entity to get them on site to take care of whatever issue they have. But in our training, we emphasize that we are their partners in everything they do. And we want to be there should they go through any event, and let our team support them and be that mission partner in any type of event that they're dealing with, no matter what it may be.
Okay, thanks. And also something that was mentioned too, the number of contacts with law enforcement. Somebody sent me a kind of summary of the number of contacts that students within the different school districts had with law enforcement. And she sent it to me because Jefferson County, Jefferson schools were way higher than any other school district, higher than Denver. And so I did ask a little bit about it. Maybe you can help me some more here too, but I do believe it's because we do have more SROs and more presence in the schools. And oftentimes, as you mentioned, they're used for counseling. They're not used because the student is doing something illegal. Is that correct?
That's true. If I can just tell you a story, we had a SRO that contacted me from Arvada. There was 4 students that they were unable to locate after COVID, and Officer Lewis did 4 home checks multiple times to find these kids, just out of concern. I mean, it's not his responsibility. He went to the homes to find, where are these kids? Why are they not enrolled? I connected him with the Office of School Engagement to figure out, they were gone. They couldn't find them, and they were able to locate the 4 students. So our law enforcement partners go above and beyond to support Jeffco schools.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Mary, just to touch on, as a principal and my principal lens, the SRO was our partner, and I can tell you, in all of those years as being a principal, the number of kids that would just stop in and talk about things that they're going through, or issues they had questions with, or just to pop in and just connect with somebody that oftentimes is seen as in a negative light, or oftentimes is unwilling to maybe be a part of their life in other categories. The SROs play a whole different role. And I think, as you said, the number of those instances are really about us just connecting with our kids and being that counsel that they need.
And actually, I guess one follow-up to what I did say earlier. As far as implementing a red flag order, an ERPO, or as you said, Marianne, removing guns from the home, how are our staff members able to work with law enforcement or encourage families? I mean, how does that work to get
Law
guns out of
enforcement does notify us if they red flag a home. And without getting into details, we have just recently done that. I'm working on with our Arvada PD. But that's the only way that I'm aware of the red flag.
So it comes from law enforcement.
Yes.
We, as a district, don't have a way to start a process or look into some possibility of using a red flag law.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Varda?
I just want to say thank you. I'm really proud of the DeAngelis Center, and it sounded like you were suggesting that there might be more funding or sustainability around that coming, and that makes me very happy because I know it's really difficult to continue to fund it through donations and grants and how hard you all work on the administrative side, but the center itself, it's just, I think it's nationally known as just one of the best. And also I'm really grateful for the SRO relationship that you talk about. I see it all the time, even with my own kids. And I just have one question. My kids have experienced holds recently in a school, and it sounds like some of the situations could be alleviated if we had more cameras. The unknown now, if you have someone in the school who you know doesn't belong there and you lose sight of them, like the whole school can go on a hold because we don't know. This is an actual case that happened in one of my schools. And if we had a camera that showed more of the doors, I understand they're not in all of them. So I just wondered, how does our district use cameras in our security strategy? And is there a way to leverage that in a way that can be scaled? Because hopefully it's not as expensive as people. I got really curious about that when I heard a lot of the administrators say, if we had more cameras, we could avoid the whole hold if we saw someone leave the back door, but since we didn't know where they were, we have to search the school. And in this particular case, the person was out of the school during the whole thing, but they just didn't know.
We prioritize, our high schools have a lot of cameras if you've been in a high school. Middle schools, a little bit less, and elementaries, less. The part of the bond, a recent bond, did provide us an environment to where we could provide cameras in all of our buildings and get them to levels, I believe, 8, 12, and 16 when it comes to elementary, middle, and high school. So those were additional cameras that were digital. We believe, and we do audits all the time. We have principals that say, hey, I'd love to have more cameras. Can you come? We'll send an officer out or one of our team members to go audit the school and take a look. Where would it make the most sense to add a camera? What does that look like? We'll work with facilities on potential cost. Can we share the cost? Or schools have funding to take care of this? Because we understand that the intel we get from cameras is huge, right? It gives us the eyes that maybe we don't have. And a lot of the situations you talk about absolutely could be potentially mitigated sooner with eyes through intel of the cameras, which we don't have in all of our schools, or at least we don't see everything at this point.
Thank you all. I have questions, but in the interest of time, I'm going to submit them and in writing, and that way you can get back to the whole board. And I'm sure there are other questions that may come up that we can add. I will just leave you just with one quick anecdote, and I promise it's quick. I teach at Red Rocks Community College, and during one of the classes I was teaching about a month ago, unbeknownst to us, because we were not told, they were doing a sort of drill in the classroom next door, but all we heard was someone screaming, they've got a gun, and students screaming. And they were going through it as an exercise of something, I don't know what, but what we heard was just there's a gun, and it's an active shooter. Immediately, about 3/4 of my students did the lights out, lockdown, out of sight. What is it called?
Locks, lights, out of sight.
Locks, lights, out of sight. And they immediately went into action mode. And I was terrified because I didn't know what to do, but they did. And it is unfortunate that they have to know what to do. But after Red Rocks Community College police officers came and told us what was going on, I asked my students, well, where did you go to school? And all of them were from Jeffco schools. So I hate that they know that and that it was instinctual for them, and it was. And they responded in a way that if it had been real, it would have made a difference. So I don't know what to do with that except thank you all for training our kids and keeping them safe. And I'll submit questions to you all. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. All right. This is going to be an awkward transition because that was not a super uplifting thing, but we're going on to proclamations and being able to recognize some of our amazing staff and students and community partners in our district. So the Jeffco Board of Education is proud to issue proclamations that honor our schools and community organizations and that highlight issues aligned with our district's mission, vision, values, and strategic plan. Proclamations can be read in full on the district's website, so we're not going to read them now, but they are all there on our website, publicly available. This month, we have issued proclamations in recognition of Dyslexia Awareness Month, America's Safe Schools Week, and Fairmount Elementary School, recognized as a Blue Ribbon School by the National Blue Ribbon Schools Program, which celebrates great American schools. They're demonstrating that all children can achieve to high levels. So please do go on our website and read those proclamations because we're very proud of all of those pieces. The Jeffco Board's governing statement reads that Jeffco students need and deserve robust academic, enrichment, and social emotional programs that challenge them to grow and that prepare them for college, for careers, and for community life. Tonight, we are proud to honor students, staff, and community organizations that personify and embody our governing statement. Our recognitions are aligned with 3 priorities in Jeffco Thrives 2025. Our learners, our future, our people, our strength, and our communities, our legacies. So I am going to begin with our first celebration of the evening. We are pleased to recognize a group of talented students recognized for their accomplishments in the 2022 Colorado Congressional Art Competition as part of our Learners, Our Future recognition. Could the following students please come to the front of the boardroom? Peyton Duplessis, hopefully I said that right, Carly Venn, Brooklyn Hector, Rachel Sanchez, Zane Yeager, and Louisa Wilson. Louisa's parents should be here, I'm hoping, and we'd like for them to join us at the front of the room to accept this recognition on her behalf due to her studying abroad this semester. Do we have any of those students that are with us? Oh, don't be, yeah, that's, you can, yay, come on up, please. All right, now you have to just stand there and listen to me say great things about you. All right, this is going to be tough. The Congressional Institute is a not-for-profit corporation dedicated to helping members of Congress better serve their constituents. Sponsors the annual Congressional Art Competition, a celebration of artistic discovery by the nation's high school students. Each congressional district hosts an individual competition with the first place artwork hanging in the Cannon Tunnel of the U.S. Capitol for 1 year. Every day, members of Congress, distinguished visitors, and tens of thousands of tourists from the United States and abroad walk through the tunnel and admire the artwork. Since the Artistic Discovery Competition began in 1982, more than 650,000 high school students have participated. Students from the 7th Congressional District, that's us, submitted over 130 artworks for this year's competition. And you all, that list that I read was the selected award winners, and we are recognizing you all tonight. We're going to give a round of applause to these talented students for their extraordinary talent and creativity. We're really super proud of you all, and we wish you well and all the awesome things that we know you're going to do going forward. Congratulations. Good Brooklyn. I just saw you. Go Rest and Valley. Awesome. Congratulations. Yeah, now you have to do even more awkward things. Rachel. Awesome. Thank you all so much. Oh, hold on. That's an ugly green folder. You gotta pretend like you like me. Here. Congratulations, you all. Oh, were you done? That's going to be real awkward. So I'm going to do this. Congratulations. I will turn it over to you, Ms. Parker.
Next, the Board of Education is pleased to honor Helen Neal for Our People, Our Strength recognition. Helen, please come up. Helen Neal was Jeffco's Chief of Staff and retired last month after 25 years with the district. Helen was hired in 1998 by Jeffco's first female superintendent, Jane Hammond. She's since worked with 7 superintendents and many board members during her tenure at Jeffco. As Chief of Staff, Helen managed actions and decisions impacting the superintendent, Board of Education, and Cabinet, and counseled district leadership in providing clear and accurate communication to our stakeholders. She also supported the board in a variety of ways and attended every board meeting but a handful since 1998. And all of us who complain about how late our board meetings go, don't complain to Helen, because Renee Nicothedes, Chief Academic Officer at Jeffco, says, Helen made a difference above and beyond her regular duties as Chief of Staff. All of our organizational achievements were made more possible because of her individual efforts and support. Helen stood by the high expectations of our board and assisted all of us in meeting those expectations. Helen received the JCAA Central Administrator of the Month Award twice, in 2019 and 2021, and also received the District Values Award for Integrity. Some of her career highlights include chaperoning Jeffco Open Schools class trips, civil rights and the Women's March, training as a bus driver, I didn't know that one, and flying in a 2-seater airplane to develop the Warren Tech Pathway Partnership. Helen, you will be greatly missed. As John DeStefano shared, Helen has been the anchor of Jeffco for nearly 3 decades and a trusted mentor and friend. The district is proud of your service and is honored to have worked alongside you. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors and are grateful for the many ways you positively impacted the Jeffco community.
And now I will turn it over to Dr. Berta.
Okay, I'm very happy to give this award to an organization I know well. For the final celebration of the evening, the Board of Education is pleased to acknowledge the work accomplished by our partners at the Community First Foundation for Our Communities, Our Legacy Recognition. With Kelly Duncan, the President and CEO of the Community First Foundation, and Cindy Matthews, Director of Communications and Community Outreach, please make your way to the front of the room to receive your award. Community First Foundation has brought donors and nonprofits together for more than 40 years. They were founded in 1975 as Lutheran Medical Center Foundation, the fundraising arm of Lutheran Medical Center, a nonprofit hospital supporting Denver's West Side. Today, they help generous donors and innovative nonprofits come together to improve the quality of life and create positive change in Jefferson County, the Denver metropolitan area, and beyond. Community First Foundation has partnered with Jeffco Public Schools by providing a $500,000 grant for healthy meals to Jeffco families who are on the cusp of qualifying for the free and reduced lunch meal program. This grant will cover the cost of meals for approximately 1,000 students identified. The grant is for this school year and went into effect October 1st and will end on May 26, 2023. Please join us in recognizing the Community First Foundation's president and CEO, Kelly Duncan and Cindy Matthews, and the staff who make this organization an incredible success. Jeffco Schools is grateful for this community partnership and the positive impact it will have on our community.
All right, that's my favorite part. So we're going to move on to public comment. We typically have two portions of public comment. We're going to try to go through as many individuals as we can for part one of public comment. And if there are folks who are going to show up later, we'll get to them when we can. So this is an opportunity for the community to share their thoughts with the board. The board will listen to concerns on any topic, and we have about 1 hour set aside for this first portion. If more time is required, we'll have the second public comment at the end of the meeting. We listen with respect and ask those who address the board to do the same. In order to respect all persons addressing the board, we request that issues rather than personalities be addressed, or people. There's a 3-minute time limit per individual speaker, and there is a 10-minute time limit for groups to be able to present. So we'll go ahead and get started with our first speaker, Gail Barron. And it looks like it's a group. Welcome. And if you wouldn't mind just introducing members of your group, and then you can start whenever you're ready.
Thank you for your time. My name is Gail Barron. I have with me Sarah Bush, Heidi Roche, and Casey McBride. I'm going to let Sarah speak first.
Hello, board members. My name is Sarah Bush, and I'm the parent of a second grader at Colorado Elementary. Over the past 3 years, I've made an effort to be involved in my son's education. I'm currently the chair of our school accountability committee, and I'm also one of the Dakota Ridge Articulation area reps on the district accountability committee. I'm here today speaking solely as a concerned parent and community member. As you know, the district's mission is to provide a world-class education that prepares all Jeffco students for bright and successful futures as local and global citizens. What you may not know is that Colorado is fulfilling this mission, as evidenced by having achieved its goal of becoming an IB World School just last month. Colorado is the only elementary school in District 5 with this designation, and since Summit Ridge and Dakota Ridge both have IB authorization, there is now a continuous IB pathway from kindergarten through 12th grade in District 5. I could talk at length about all the ways that Colorado is providing a thriving student and educator experience, as articulated by the district. But right now, I'd rather comment on the criteria used to determine which schools would be recommended for closure, specifically the 45% utilization and 220 student cutoffs. As we know, these cutoffs, along with the criteria related to the receiving school, resulted in a list of 16 schools being recommended for closure. I think that most people can agree that action needs to be taken to ensure that schools will not be closed on an emergency basis and to address the empty seats in the district. I think the list of 16 is a great starting point, but it should be just that, a starting point. The next step should be to evaluate each school individually to determine whether that school should be closed or not. There's so much more school-specific data, both quantitative and qualitative, that needs to be considered when making a decision of this magnitude. I understand the reasons why the district presented this recommendation as a package and why it chose 45% and 220 as the cutoffs. On the surface, it may appear that using these two data points is fair and equitable because those data are objective. But it's not fair or equitable to disregard all of the other information that is available, including but not limited to impact analyses on vulnerable populations, zip code specific population data and projections, building life expectancy, safety and transportation issues, impacts on receiving schools, school-specific choice out rates, choice out analyses to understand why people do not attend their neighborhood school, and of course, the community input that you've been receiving over the last 2 months. I know you asked the district to study this, and I appreciate your willingness to take on this difficult and controversial work. I ask that you vote no on the overly broad recommendation and instead study each school individually and make your decision based on the whole picture, not just the two data points. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Gail Barron. My son attends Colorado. I am also a staff member at Colorado. I come to you today to address our students' social emotional well-being. A district representative recently told me that our children are resilient. According to CPR data, teen suicide rates have increased 53% in the last 3 years and is the cause of 1 in 5 deaths in teens. Jeffco recognizes this mental health epidemic, so much so that they launched a campaign stating, "Every person, every day." Every staff member in Jeffco is required to complete a QPR training in hopes to prevent suicide from occurring in our students. Just today, Jeffco Public Schools posted on social media an acknowledgement that our students are facing an opioid crisis. Overdoses are on the rise, and staff members are being asked to watch a video on how to use Narcan. I'm going to talk about ACE scores now. For those of you that do not know, ACE stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. It is the result of a study that has been proven multiple times over that the more a child has experienced trauma or highly negative experiences, the more likely the child will have greater health risks as an adult or even early death. I have recently read data on the rise of ACE scores in COVID-era youth. Each study I concluded ACE scores are likely to go up in our most vulnerable populations as a result of COVID. My son began kindergarten in the COVID year. His first grade was riddled with protocols, social distancing, and uncertainty. We began the second grade year hopeful that things would be normal, yet here we are not knowing what our future holds. They say soldiers who experience war together have a deep bond and connect with each other in a way that no one else understands, a kinship. My son and his classmates have that bond. They have lived through this together. We as adults have no comprehension of the bond that they have. They support each other and they love each other in a way we have never seen. And now they're at risk of being torn apart. My son, the kindergarten class of 2020 have yet to experience a year without fear and uncertainty. To say our children are resilient is a lie. Our children are flexible. Our children are coping. Our children are doing their best in a situation they have been put in, a situation with extremely negative experiences brought on by society, brought on by adults with their best interest in mind, and brought on by leaders. A vote yes on this consolidation will perpetuate the adverse experiences in our child's lives.
Hi, my name is Heidi Rush, and I want to thank you so much for taking the time to listen to what I have to say. I'm a mother of a first grade girl at Colorado Elementary School. I also have 2 younger girls who will both start attending Colorado in the next 3 years. Our time at Colorado has been nothing but exceptional. We have been welcomed into the Colorado family with open arms. I've had the privilege of walking, biking, and even scootering with my girls to school each and every day. This has been special for my family, and we've built community with our neighbors, who are also out bringing their kids to school. I had the opportunity to tour Powderhorn Elementary School, the school we're slated to attend should Colorado close. While Powderhorn is a very impressive school and offers so much to their families, it isn't what my families and many families I know need. From a numbers standpoint and what's in writing, I get that a smaller school like Colorado can't offer the programs and resources that Powderhorn might be able to, but it offers something that bigger schools can't: community, belonging, and being known throughout the whole school. This is what matters to my family. Equal opportunity means having a school that my family can walk to, having a small school where my kids will thrive and be known, having a community with such a strong bond. Ripping apart 16 communities will affect more people than you know. Dumping all these students into bigger schools won't help kids thrive. The line that kids are resilient has been thrown around a lot, and this is far from true. It's heartbreaking to think that all the problems from higher up, even higher than the school board, are being put on the students' shoulders. There are other ways to solve the money and space problems other than closing schools and in return breaking apart communities. Has there been efforts to solve these issues by seeking more money from state legislators or finding other ways to use schools to their capacity besides more students, such as outside programs? There needs to be other solutions that don't affect our precious children. My family has built stability into our kids' lives, which is so important for young ones. We have a strong bond with our neighbors, classmates, and friends, and I hope this is not taken from us. Please vote no on the recommendation. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Casey. I'm going to try to get this in a minute and 20 seconds. I am a parent of 4 kids at Colorado Elementary, obviously one of the schools in the crosshairs of this closure vote. One thing that a yes vote for the closure would do is guarantee an even larger amount of mental anxiety and stress on my children and all the other kids who attend Colorado. My oldest kids in 4th and 2nd grade have already been through the ringer in their school careers, essentially having the last 2 years derailed with COVID measures, to have another disturbance, essentially one of this level, that has already caused several crying fits, anxiety attacks, fits of hysteria at the possibility of losing their friends, losing the comfort of their neighborhood school, and losing the community they crave so much at this age. No kid should have to go through what they've already been through with COVID, but to now add on more on top of it is not putting our students' best interests at heart, but simply an ignorant financial decision that will be reckless and not thought through. As parents and our kids' teachers, we are not mental health experts nor adequate to enable to be counselors. Unfortunately, that is what it has come to with having students with his overarching fear of their school closure and being forced to console these kids on a daily basis. The district refuses to answer some questions that we have in meetings and gatherings we've had with them, and we keep getting the runaround. There is no conclusive evidence that this will help or even put a dent in the financial situation of Jeffco. So why is this being put on our students and parents? As parents, we want to do what's best for our kids. Jamming them into larger schools for the sake of cost savings is irresponsible and will do untold damage to these children. They are humans, not digits. Cutting corners in childhood education should not be an option. Keep our kids where they are. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Emily Adams. Welcome, Ms. Adams. You can begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Emily Adams. I'm going to start with something I read that you said, Ms. Schooley, about being brave and getting uncomfortable. So I'm brave here, which is not easy for me. I'm a medically retired combat veteran, so even sitting in this room is uncomfortable, so I'm already uncomfortable. This is the first of 3 times I'll be speaking to you, now, Monday night, and again, the day before Veterans Day, which is when you're making this decision, which is actually a little bit poetic, but that's a little bit about me. I'm a proud Coloradan. I am a proud Wheat Ridge resident, and I have 3 children who have been in the Jeffco school system. Miss Schooley, I never forget a face. I didn't remember where I knew you from. And I remember now, after speaking to people, to find out that I was on the other side of this aisle with you in 2016 when you were fighting for Stober, and I was then fighting for Pennington. I remember back then, Stober was being considered to be closed to forward to Vivian, just as Pennington was being considered to forward to Wilmore Davis. Both schools that are now on the chopping block, and then the others aren't, which is just interesting. So I remember that, and I've spoken to people when trying to find out, like, I know her, where do I know her from? A lot of people said that their support for you and being president of our board came from watching you fight then, came from knowing that you'll fight for our small schools, you'll fight for us, and I'm really hoping that that's still true, because largely from the feedback that I'm hearing from others, that's why you're sitting there, and that's why we had confidence in you being there. Back then, schools were being considered individually, and that's what I'm here tonight to talk to you about and to echo the last group. This isn't about saving a particular school. To be honest, then I didn't have a dog in the fight. Our children were going to a school that wasn't on the chopping block anymore. My son needed the Trails program, and we were going to choice into color strain. So I was fighting to save Pennington, even though it didn't directly impact my family. And I'm fighting now to stop this vote, even though it doesn't directly impact my family, as my youngest child is in 5th grade this year. So I'm not here biased saying, please save my school. I'm here to tell you that this is the wrong decision, and not just closing schools, because I'll submit, with my time dwindling, I'll just submit that there are some schools that this recommendation may be correct. They could be being served potentially at a bigger school, but to not individually look at them is not keeping the promises that you're making to us when you say every student. You can't say that you're intelligently considering every student if you're all or none voting on all of these schools. Not every one of these schools is better served in a bigger school. Maybe some of them, sure. Let's look at them all individually. Lastly, Ms. Reed, I need to tell you this. It really let me down that you came to our community meeting and to our faces said that your vote and your mind is already made up, because that's another broken promise to us. You're all in these seats because you're supposed to have this time where you let us tell you how the decisions on black and white and the paper and the difficult choices that I know a lot about making affect us community members. When you show up to our community and you show up to our school and you tell us that you're not even considering this and your mind is made up and your vote is decided, that is betraying the promises that you're making to us. And so I'm asking you not to come into this with your vote already decided, to listen to what we're telling you, as we are the boots on the ground in these schools. We're the ones that know how this affects our students, our kids, our communities, and the district as a whole. And making an all or none vote is something you'll regret. These schools need to be considered individually. Can some of them be better served? Sure. Can all of them? Absolutely not. And so I'll argue later on why not to close Color Strand when I see you on Monday. But tonight I'm arguing why to keep your promise of every student. And I don't think you can keep your promise of every student if you're not keeping the promise of every school. Consider them each individually. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Tammy Lawson. Welcome. That's okay. It's good to hydrate. You can begin whenever you're ready.
Hi, my name is Tammy Lawson. Excuse me. I live in Coal Creek Canyon and have, wow, why is this hard? 2 students that attend Coal Creek Canyon K-8. I'm here to talk about board policy that was put into place in 2014, allowing kids that attended Coal Creek Canyon to be guaranteed enrollment to Ralston Valley High School because they attended Coal Creek Canyon K-8. To give a little background, for those that are not aware of our school, we are located in the foothills of Golden up Highway 72, west of Arvada. We have a school population of 96 students, with 35 of those being choice enrolled due to our community being made up of 3 different counties, Jeffco, Gilpin, and Boulder. In 2014, we were alerted to that an enrollment planning In 2014, we were alerted that an enrollment planning and services consultant was asked by the district to examine and refine, if needed, district choice enrollment policies. What this meant for us was the gentleman's agreement between Coal Creek Canyon and Ralston Valley that allowed our kids to be accepted regardless of county of residence needed to be made a policy. Several parents got together with our and Ralston's principals at the time, our community superintendent, and various board members to come up with a plan to be able to allow the Coal Creek students to still be admitted to Ralston. Documents were drafted, and in October 2014, it became a board policy. Reading in part, step 1, prioritizing applicants. Once the first round application period for choice enrollment is closed, enrollment shall be guaranteed for applicants who for various reasons have new assigned neighborhood schools and wish to remain at their prior school, applicants who are not currently attending Jeffco Public School and wish to attend their assigned neighborhood schools, and lastly, applicants to Ralston Valley High School who are currently attending Coal Creek Canyon K-8. Many Canyon residents have kept their children enrolled at CCC K-8 because this policy. And last month, we were informed by Mackenzie Nickham that the policy is gone. In checking the link that I was provided back when this became policy in 2014, it was indeed a blank document. We never received notification that the policy was to change and feel very strongly that we should have been informed so families could prepare accordingly. In another area of that document, it is noted the long-term financial viability of at least one of the mountain community feeder schools rests heavily on the school's ability to keep all of their community members enrolled and engaged, regardless of which county they officially reside. If approved, this change would allow this school and others the opportunity to recruit and retain all of their community members, bringing with them the funds necessary to sustain their school. That is exactly what's happening here. In a time of dwindling enrollment, schools being shut down, we need to do everything possible to keep the enrollment up. Thank you. I have more else, but
Thank you very much. Okay. And our next speaker is Tara Rosner. I apologize if I didn't get your name right. Woo! Okay. Welcome. You can start whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. My name is Tara Rosner, and I'm the parent of 7 children. I'm a graduate of Jeffco Schools, and I actually attended Pfeiffer Elementary in Littleton, one of the schools that's identified to be closed. All 7 of my children currently attend or have graduated from a Jeffco school. Only one of my kids is in our home schools. My oldest daughter, who's 21 now, choiced into 2 different high schools before finding the right fit. She chose Arvada High School because of the diversity and the resources that were offered to her. Both of my 9th graders, we have 2, both choiced into their middle school last year. This year, one of the 9th graders choiced into his high school, while the other one is the one that attends her home school. Even my 1st graders choiced into his elementary school based on experience, the diversity of the staff and the administration, and the extracurricular activities that are available to him. 5 of my kids have 504 plans, an IEP, or receives extra resources that are necessary for them to thrive. As parents, in tandem with my kids, we helped guide them to their choice schools based on elements they wanted to get from their school, like activities and fitting in and sports and community, and then what we needed them to receive, the right resources for each of their needs, including special education resources, programs, on-site medical teams, and resources for our type 1 diabetes kid. Small schools and schools where the money is siphoned from larger schools to operate are not a fit for my family's culture, and the diversity of their needs. When small schools are kept open, resources are stretched thin, and my children's needs can't be met. If I'd taken the approach that my parents did with me, keeping me in the same elementary school despite the resources available, my children would not flourish and would not be ready for college or be ready for adulthood like they have been and will be, because we have the ability to choose which schools best fit their needs, their special needs. Finding the right fit for each of my kids is not easy. Last year, we were in 5 different schools, and drop-off and pickup was a full-time job. This year, we're in 4 different schools, but finding the right school with the right and with ample resources is what's best for my family. No one wants to see schools close. It's heartbreaking and it's disheartening, but it's not personal, and it's not our fault, and it's not our kids' fault. It's simply the right response to the changing face of our communities. Closing schools brings together elements from three of life's greatest stressors: new jobs, divorce, and moving. Each of us from both sides of the school closure debate is coming from the same place. We want the best for our kids, we want the best for our children and our community, and we want all of our children to thrive. Closing schools is fiscally responsible. Closing schools is hard, but it's basic economics. If a school does not have the enrollment then we don't have choice schools. Then we don't have a choice. The school must close, and we will continue to hemorrhage money. Schools closing is hard. It's a hard thing to do, but it's the right thing to do for each of our children's long-term success. Not just my kids, but for all the kids. We're so incredibly fortunate to be able to stand here before the board the last several months and all of us voice our opinions and our disagreements and share our passion for kids. I think that's the underlying thread here. Thanks for hearing these hard stories and for making the really hard decisions. And thank you for allowing my children to use their voices each and every day. When they are a part of their education, they are more successful.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Tara Webster. Welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, school board. I'm here as a Jeffco resident, a mom of an amazing Jeffco kid, and a community member who wants a great education for all children. My daughter, who has Down syndrome, has thrived in the total communication program at New Classical Academy at Vivian. I know we have more time next week to tell you of all the impacts specifically for our Vivian community, but I'm here tonight to ask that you give equity a more serious role in decision making, both in your consideration of school closures and for all of the decisions you make. From what I've heard about the school closures from the district, the idea of equity has been mentioned, but only in the abstract, without apparent action being taken. When we ask serious questions, how was equity considered in coming up with these criteria? Why are the closures disproportionately impacting students with disabilities, students of color, and students who qualify for free and reduced lunch? We hear no answers. I understand that you have serious and hard decisions ahead of you, and those decisions will not stop being difficult after November 10th. What I'm here to ask of you is to make equity a real factor in your decisions. To me, this would mean that you include equity metrics, because what gets measured gets done. Include things like progress on closing racial achievement gaps, choice preferences for students from historically marginalized backgrounds. I know that not everything can be represented in numbers, but the numbers we choose reflect our values. And right now, the criteria for recommending closures reflect a lack of consideration for equity impacts. Equity does not mean giving everyone the same thing. It means recognizing that differences in our needs and abilities call for different responses. And for the school district, I believe this means taking seriously that students from historically underserved communities deserve not to be told they are at the losing end of the choice system. I believe the school district must guard against the very real pressures to preserve privilege for those who already have it. I believe you can do this by centering equity considerations in your decision making. And this means more work than just passing references to equity as a lofty goal. This means asking hard questions and getting real numbers. This means finding creative ways to ensure that the decisions you make are bringing our community closer to more equitable outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Molly Crimpton. Welcome. You can begin whenever you're ready.
I thought I only had a minute, so I won't take very much of your time. Good evening. Thank you for having us. I'm here to ask you please to vote no on this proposal. For starters, it's a knee-jerk reaction to declining enrollment on the heels of a global emergency that we still haven't recovered from. How can we be expected to go back to normal in this district if the world hasn't recovered yet? How can you compound the trauma of a pandemic with the trauma of losing a school that we love and feel safe in? I haven't heard a single discussion of why students aren't returning to public schools or how we can get them back. Why are there so many private and charter schools that are full and have wait lists while public schools limp along? Perhaps it is their extraordinary curricula. When you chose criteria for closures, you thought that they would be equitable, and in most cases, I will admit that they are.
However, they failed to consider some of these schools with programs that parents might seek out, like a classical academy, STEAM, or international baccalaureate programs. Many of these schools, especially in Wheat Ridge, are serving some of the district's most underprivileged children, and taking them away will only further inequity and the systemic concentration of wealth and power into specific schools. Furthermore, closing half of Wheat Ridge elementary schools presents unique challenges because you're asking schools with widely different demographics to combine with little consideration to how that will actually work. Wheat Ridge will be going from some of the smallest schools on average in the district to some of the largest. That culture shock alone is worrisome. My child will have to go from a school where every staff member knows their name to a place full of strangers. Would you willingly put your children through that? The challenge will be tenfold for the children of color to go from a school of 58% BIPOC students to 77% white would be a huge and potentially traumatic shift. I hope you'll consider these things before you vote yes on a proposal that isn't fully formed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go to folks that signed up for public comment part 2, but we're going to see if they're here. Then we're going to go ahead and keep rolling along. Amy Malskelt. Oh boy, I think I butchered that. Malskeet? No. Okay. We will come back to these folks if they are not here yet. Braden McQuaid. Okay. Ruth Hund. Are you ready? Is it okay? I know we're surprising you. Thank you for being flexible with this. We're just trying to make sure we can get voices in the room efficiently.
No,
Welcome.
thank you, and thank you so much for your time. My name is Ruth Hunt. I'm a resident of Golden for over 25 years, mother of a 23-year-old who, when I was on maternity leave, I was watching Columbine unfold, and I've taught for 22 years in independent schools and Jeffco public schools. I grew up in Kansas City, Kansas suburb, family of 5, father, Rotary member, business leader. It was everything looked perfect on the outside. My dad was a hunter and kept his shotgun at the top shelf of his closet, unloaded, but the ammunition next to it. I remember my mother showing me the gun and warning me to never, ever touch it. Being a goody two-shoes that I am, I did become a teacher after all, I did not. But one night, my father, and I was told this later, I remember the night, but I was told this later, he had gotten very drunk and threatened to kill himself. Fortunately, he was too drunk to find the gun. Had there been a safe storage laws in the 70s, and had my mom known about them, she would have ensured the guns were locked up and the ammunition was kept in a separate and locked storage place. There would have been no threat to me or my 2 siblings to have accidentally shot each other, and there would have been a greatly reduced threat of a drunk father killing himself. I am proud that Colorado has a safe storage law. It will save lives. It will save more lives if everyone knows about this law. I only heard about it through an email. Thankfully, my story did not end tragically, and this was sheer luck. The safe storage of firearms would not have left this to luck. Others are not so lucky and tragically are injured, maimed, or killed due to firearms in the homes. Safe storage prevents tragedies that can happen in any family by accident, as told by Ms. Parker, or due to a blinding rage, drunken or otherwise. If we prioritize students' safety, we must educate our parents every year about safe storage laws. I support all additional efforts to help people in our communities. The more education, the better. Let's make it uncool to improperly store a gun. Let's teach our parents to ask about safe storage before play dates. I did when my child was young. Let's have public service announcements for this new law. That would be fantastic and is essential. Colorado's safe storage law is a wonderful step in common sense gun laws. Everyone needs to know about this law. Everyone needs to be educated. Jeffco Public Schools is about keeping our children safe and educating our community on how to do so. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. All right, let's see. Is Kimberly Bierbrower? One of those, maybe. Welcome. can start whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kim Bierbrower. It's very close. I'm a parent of 3 Jeffco students at Fairmount Elementary and Arvada West High School. Thank you for your attention to this issue because we don't have the luxury of time. Please stay with me for the next few minutes. And if it feels like a lot to listen to, it's because it is. Because all of this heartbreak is too much. And I don't think our kids were made to live like this. We know that. We know they deserve better. I realized a few years ago that I can't continue to sit on the sidelines and expect other people to do this work. I'm also very, very tired of asking my children to be the heroes because adults are cowards. As you already know, a vast majority of school shooters have been students and get their guns from friends and family. I'm here to ask you to act in 4 ways to protect our children. First, I'm asking you to partner with Be Smart for Kids and provide information about secure gun storage to all families, following the lead of DPS and numerous school districts around the nation. It starts at home with responsible adults so kids don't have easy access to guns. Access to guns triples the rate of suicide alone. Second, I'm asking you to educate parents on Colorado's safe storage of firearms law and require them to acknowledge it when they register their student. Let's encourage parents to help keep guns out of schools in the first place. Adults should not be making it easier for tragedies to happen. Third, I'm asking you to prioritize education on Safe to Tell. Continue to educate our kids about how to observe and how to safely share information. Safe to Tell can be a powerful tool in identifying and preventing tragedies. In almost every instance of school shootings, people had concerns about the shooter. And last but not least, I'm asking you to continue examining shooter lockdown drills. Identify best practices based on latest data on their effectiveness. There's plenty of evidence to suggest kids internalize their feelings, and these drills can cause increased anxiety, depression, sleeplessness, worsening school performance, and can do significant harm to some children's brains and coping skills as they are still developing. If Jeffco does choose to continue implementing them, I ask you to consider doing them in a trauma-informed manner. For example, training should focus on the adults. Give parents and students advanced notice. Collect and track data. Collaborate with psychological experts. Scare tactics do not make children more empathetic humans. It actually does the opposite. The best way to make school safer is to focus on proven policies and programs instead of these drills that rob children of their belief that schools are in fact safe places. So while I recognize that hearing these thoughts and taking action requires brave leadership, I want to imagine a better way to take care of our children. Lives are on the line. I believe these meaningful and reasonable steps can help us create a culture where we prioritize keeping guns and gunmen out of our schools and keep our children and teachers safe. It's up to us, adults, to continue to work on having the courage for the brokenhearted and commit to proactively solving problems together. This work matters so we can let kids be kids. Kids should just be able to be kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Morgan Richards. Welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. I'm Morgan Richards, and I live in Wheat Ridge. I'm the founder of Wheat Ridge for Equity, own a small local business, and most importantly, I'm the mom of 2 teenagers. Thank you for recognizing America's Safe School Week. I'm here for my friend Kia, who works tirelessly for gun violence prevention. She can't be here tonight, so I said I would share remarks on her behalf. She is a Be Smart trainer, volunteers for an effort that gets guns off the street with gun buybacks, and educates for gun safety, mental health, and other needed supports that we know help prevent gun violence. Kia experienced gun violence from an early age, including a day where a man in crisis went to her school and killed several of her classmates. She left school early that day. Kia now has a 9-year-old son who went through 2 non-practice lockdowns this year, and he knew what to do because he had practiced at school. I'm also here for my cousin who committed suicide with a gun that was kept unlocked in the home. The Texas Uvalde Commission noted in its analysis that systemic failures combined with a lax gun culture resulted in that tragedy. The findings reinforce what Kia has taught me. Multi-pronged actions are needed to foster a culture of empathy, education, and preparedness. I ask that the board take 2 actions tonight. 1, require caregivers to acknowledge HB 21-1106, our safe storage of firearms law that passed last year. It could be as simple as a checkbox on Infinite Campus, or you could endeavor a more robust education campaign. We can't keep kids safe if we don't know what the mechanisms are. 2, support Be Smart for Kids, education for all adults who come into contact with our school communities. This could range from 30-minute trainings. If you'll think about it as the meeting before any meeting that happens in a school, there could be a Be Smart training. Or it could be as simple as displaying posters with our message. S for secure, M for model, A for ask, R for recognize, and T for tell. And Kia wants me to let you know she's willing to do those trainings for free. Thank you for your work and devotion to the people in our school communities. I appreciate you all.
Thank you. Let's see, does Elizabeth Armstrong. Welcome, Ms. Armstrong.
I've decided with my limited time to be very frank, so my apologies for skipping the small talk. You're not losing students because of birth rate. You're losing parents and you're losing families. We are not so quiet quitting this district. And here's why. 1, no one believes the mill money was well spent. No one's confused. No one thinks the flip book was just marketing. The boards of the last few years have been poor stewards of our money, and to date, there has been no acknowledgement of plan to correct course. We are $32 million in the hole this year. The 16 schools being closed will not fill the hole, and an additional $17 million will be needed to upgrade receiving schools. In fact, there does not appear to be a plan to close the gap, besides begging voters, but that's not going to happen because 3, you have shunned parents as partners in our children's education, and we're not having it. We parents and grandparents are our kids' union. We have exactly one goal, to each decide what is best for our own children, and we're extremely motivated. To be clear, I'm not asking to ban or erase anyone, and this goes for parents of all political persuasions. We're not anti-anything, and painting us as such helps no one. If we sometimes look disorganized, it's because our children are not pawns in a race to control a narrative. I'm not hateful, but I am angry. I once heard Tara Pena say that what gets her mama bear out is a combination of 2 things, fear and love. And on this, we agree. We fear that you are usurping our role as parents, encouraging deception, marginalizing our legitimate concerns, and unfairly maligning us, and we love our children. And all of this has been privately communicated to you. Addressing our concerns is not a distraction from your purpose. We elected you. You are not entitled to our children. They are our legal and moral, joyful burden. And we decide, based on a lifetime of on-the-job training, what is best for them. I make mistakes every day as a parent, but there is no one more motivated than parents to learn from those mistakes and get it right for our children. You should be honoring and using our experience. It doesn't cost you anything. I could take my kids and go, unlike some parents. So why am I still here? Well, 2 reasons. I want my children and all children to have available the diversity of experiences and peers that a quality public education should provide. And 2, I am stubborn as hell and willing to fight for that opportunity for all parents. Here's what you can do to start winning back trust. 1, Admit mistakes and apologize quickly and without qualification. 2, center the knowledge and skills our children need to succeed and eliminate distractions from your schedules and your budgets. Listen and actually respond to the concerns of families. Enforce your policies, give parents redress when those policies are not being enforced, and get public buy-in on those that need to be amended. I look forward to discussing with you which policies the district is not adhering to and which cause concern. You should start now. We'll help. Our children get one childhood, and there is no time to waste. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, just to double check to see, Amy Mels. Okay, thank you. Are you ready to go ahead and do your public comment now rather than waiting till the end? Great, welcome. Just to check, is the group with Braden McQuaid here? Okay, great. The floor is yours whenever you're ready.
My name is Amy Malskite, and you're not the first person I've had to help with that. I am a resident of the district. My children both attend a district school. And I am here to represent a group that came in June called Safer Communities. And just to remind you who we are, we're a group of concerned Jeffco parents who have been working to help our children's school take a proactive approach toward preventing childhood sexual abuse. As we researched the policies in place to help protect kids from abuse, we found that while the school system requires mandatory reporter training, which is online, lots of boxes to check, there was nothing in place to help prevent abuse. As we've done this work, the school community has begun to work together to move toward taking a proactive rather than a reactive posture toward abuse. The teachers and staff received training in February, and we offered an optional parent training in April that was well attended and continues to gain momentum in the parent community. And I'm here representing this group because we decided we didn't want to just stop at our school. We wanted to ask the district to consider adopting a proactive posture. In just marking from June to date, the amount of new headlines, some concerning Jefferson County, others, the Littleton Soccer Club, Cherry Creek has a handful, Aurora has a handful of settlements, not charges, not complaints, but settlements. And this is not the way funds should be used. The funds that can be used to address concerns and so easily provide training for staff and teachers. And so what our group is here to do is to offer each one of you a paid training. We are going to cover the training cost for each of you. On February 4th, Feather Burkhauer is going to do an online training for our community, and we're throwing the doors open. But we want to give you I recognize how valuable your time is, but we wanted to remove one barrier. And so I have packets here with, and I want to close with the last paragraph of a letter from one of the community members' papers. She says, "We invite you to join us in a worthy cause that simply cannot be ignored any longer. Imagine what it would look like if the millions and millions of dollars that are spent annually on lawsuits from improperly handled sexual abuse and assault cases were instead directed toward the actual education of our children and the salaries and support of our teachers and administrators. It is a significantly less expensive option to prevent the abuse than it is to deal with it after the fact." Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you very much. And if you, let's see, Ms. Lang, I don't know the best person to go through here. Or, yeah, do you mind just dropping those off? That way we can make sure all the board members get it.
Absolutely, I have 6 here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, whoops, I turned my microphone off. With that, we're going to end public comment. Oh. Um, do you like how confident I am? Why don't we do this? For right now, we're going to need to move on because we're supposed to have everyone register just so that we understand where folks are coming from and as part of our district. We're going to take a break after in a moment, and then perhaps we can ask you to meet with Ms. Tollison or someone in this corner and see if we can get you signed up either for part 2 or at some point we can address the board soon. I don't really know. That's my answer for right now. Thank you. Sorry. Great. Okay. It's a confident answer. Okay. So we're going to move forward, board, to the consent agenda. Items 5.01 through 5.16 are presented in board docs as a proposed consent agenda. Do I have any requests to remove items for the consent agenda? All right. Do I have a motion regarding the consent agenda?
Sorry about that. I shuffled all my papers. I move to approve the consent agenda as posted in board docs.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Roll call, please, Ms. Lang.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Ms. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Schooley?
Yes.
Dr. Varda?
Yes.
Okay, board, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back for a second round of public comment, and then some leadership reports and updates before we adjourn. Thanks. Welcome back. We're going to go ahead and continue with public comment part 2. This evening we have a group joining us under the leadership of Braden McQuaid. Will Braden's team come up here to present? You can come up to the podium. Yeah. I'll move it closer to me. All right, so if you go over to the podium over here, you'll use this microphone, and Mr. Drew can help you out with that. And if you guys, just to remind you, if you can just introduce yourself before you speak, that would be awesome. And you can start whenever you're ready.
The day after Halloween, November 1st. I am the leader, the one who has started the petition. I'm 13 years old in 8th grade at Drake Middle School.
Hi, my name is Braden McQuaid. I was the one who helped get us into the meeting, get signatures, and communication. I'm a 13-year-old student from Drake Middle School.
Hi, I'm Hannah Hubbard, and I helped with online material and organization of the project.
Hi, my name is Annie Irwin. I'm 13 years old. I go to Drake Middle School, and I helped keep this project efficient and edited. We are here today to present to you why we think we should not have school November 1st, the day after Halloween. Think of the future. It's November 1st, the day after Halloween. You're waking up and you're so tired and you just want to go back to bed. But you have to go to school. With our idea, you could go back to bed and sleep in that day. We have many reasons why we think this, and we're going to start us off with Hannah.
For those that are staff or students in Jeffco County, you have to wake up early in the morning and be on time for school. This causes people to be tired in the morning. Halloween is a nighttime holiday. Students want to stay up all night, party hard, and get candy. Then they have to wake up early and drag themselves into a long day of stomach aches and crazy schoolwork. For teachers, this is different. They are not staying up and going to crazy parties. They still get trick-or-treaters lasting up to 10 o'clock. Then teachers have to wake up and go to school even earlier than the students and teach them, while some are dead tired and some are on sugar rushes. Everyone wants to relax after a holiday. Students and school staff will benefit from this. Wouldn't it make sense to give us the day off?
Another reason that we think we should have the day after Halloween off is that other school districts have kind of already started getting petitions from this. Some of these include St. Charles City School District, Palm Beach County, and Polk County Public Schools. I got this from Google. These were among the districts that had the most support. In some other states, 20,041 people are in favor of taking the day after Halloween off. Also, the day that we should have this off is that every other widely celebrated holiday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Memorial Day, President's Day included, we already have a day off. For Halloween, nothing at all. Another reason that we should have this day off is that the National Sleep Foundation found that teens need 8 to 10 hours of sleep at night to function at their highest ability. If students are outside late on Halloween, their sleep habits become altered. This causes teens, when they go to school, to be unfocused, groggy, and unwilling to learn. It also messes with students' sleep schedules. For example, on CHScourier.com, it said that if you mess with a student's sleep schedule, or anyone, they become inactive, and it limits their ability to study and messes with cognitive functions, which are for the thinking part of your brain. Therefore, if you give them the day off, they'll learn better, be ready, and raring to go the next day. The CDC also says that teens should get 8 to 10 hours of sleep, or else it could affect their day-to-day life. If you were to take off this day, they could regain sleep and get ready for school the next day. Finally, to end my part of this discussion/argument to prove that other states are following suit and doing the same petition we are doing here, CBSNews.com said more than 1 million people have signed online petitions calling for no school on November 1st, including more than 200,000 in Florida. And obviously, people aren't hesitant to skip/cancel this day of school.
On the topic of sleep deprivation, it's scientifically proven that each hour that you miss of sleep, it takes 4 days to make up for that hour. I found this information on the article of Recovering from Sleep Deprivation written by John Newsom on page 4. If we had a day off, we could recover from all the lost sleep that day and come back prepared and ready to learn for the whole week. First, if we did not have it that day, if we did have school that day, we would be crabby and tired for that day and the next day and next few days. A few pros would be that we could sleep in and we could recover from headaches and stomach aches from all the candy we've eaten and all the loud music we've listened to. We could come prepared the rest of the week, and teachers could have a little time to plan. Teachers could catch up on their grading and plan a little bit. If we usually have school on November 1st, teachers usually play a movie which is not teaching us anything anyway. Also, if teachers teach a lesson, then you usually have to redo it because many people are not there and many people do not pay attention during that day. Most educators and students would agree that the day after Halloween is the least productive school day of the year. It also has the second most absences. If we had the day off, there would be no absences because everyone wouldn't be there. Now that we have presented a few of our reasons, we have a few solutions and a few ideas that how we could not have the school day after that. We know you guys have already made a schedule for this year, so we were thinking we could start it next year. Now on to Annie for our solutions. Since there is a required amount of school days given by the government, it is understood that just taking out November 1st and not making up that day is not possible. With snow days, we miss the school day and add another day at the end of the school year. We think that this could also be possible with November 1st, because we wouldn't go to school that day and we could add it at the end of the school year in May. On September 1st, 2022, a message was sent from Jeffco Public Schools. It says, as a result of the negotiations between the district and our Teachers Association last month, there will be an additional non-student contact days during the current 2022-23 school year for elementary and K-8 schools, as well as 2-hour delays for all schools to prove additional teacher professional time. Moving forward, these 2-hour delays could be put into a full day on November 1st, giving teachers their designated planning time and students their rest to be powered up to learn the next day. In conclusion, we are the representatives of Drake Middle School and many kids in the Jeffco County who think this would be a smart idea. We've decided to take action, and we've gotten many signatures from people, and we've made flyers and posters. We can turn them in online, and we have a few sheets with us here. We are also really grateful for you guys that taking the time to listen to us and hear us out. We have many people watching at home, and we will pass around the signature sheets and our flyers if you guys would like it. Thank you so much for your time.
I seriously think this is our next Board of Education. Like, our next Board of Education, everyone. And I think we...
Can you please take these over to Ms. Glenn over there? She's sitting at the table. She's the one who collects materials, and then she gives it to the board. Yeah, thank you very much, guys.
And please remember to follow up with email, and then we can circle back with you all, okay? Thank you so much. And to their parents, well done, well done, well done. All right, so that is the end of our public comments, I believe, unless I missed anyone. I know it would be nice if we ended it right there, because that was awesome. But no, we're going to move on to our leadership reports, and we'll start with Superintendent.
Thank you, President Schooley, and thank you also to our board for a productive meeting this evening. I want to express my gratitude to you all for joining me and district and school leaders at the community meetings for the schools who are impacted by the recommendation for regional opportunities for thriving schools. As I think we all know, the meetings have been very challenging and at times hopeful when communities begin to talk about how they want to possibly come together depending upon the decision in November. But overall, they've been very difficult meetings, and I'm very grateful for all of you for the time and energy that you have put in to joining me and our district staff and school leaders in these meetings. I'm really also very appreciative of the community members and the staff members who have joined these meetings to share their questions, their challenges, their hopes, their fears, and to start generating ideas for how we can bring two communities together into one. I also want to say that I'm incredibly grateful to the school leaders and the staff of these 16 schools in particular. I have been on a tour visiting all the schools. I'm almost through the 16 that are part of the recommendations. And as I visit the schools during the day, it is inspiring to see our adults and incredible education and ESP professionals helping our students stay engaged in learning and having a good school year. I'd also like to publicly thank JCEA leadership and JESPA leadership. Both organizations have been great partners with our district team. We've spent many hours with JCEA in particular, and we're beginning the same work with JESPA. And we're working collaboratively to make plans to support our staff. I appreciate the partnership and the perspective of our employees who have great ideas about how we can best support them, pending your decision as a board in November. I was able to attend 2 important community events with community partners that do tremendous work in support of our schools. Thank you to the Arvada Wheat Ridge Service Ambassadors for Youth. They held a breakfast to support the organization, which identifies, honors, and provides scholarships to students in the community who have overcome adversity in their lives. President Schooley was there with me, and it was a really nice breakfast. Thank you so much to the founders of RSA and to the community leaders who continue to ensure RSA is a vibrant part of Jeffco. I was also able to enjoy an evening out, which is always fun, with my husband at the After Dark Outdoor Lab Foundation Gala. There was both a silent and a live auction dinner. They had a great auctioneer who was pretty incredible just to watch. That was entertaining in and of itself. And it was a pleasure to be there to celebrate and contribute to our outdoor lab sites and programming, which, because of support from this foundation, we're able to serve all of our 6th grade students in Jeffco, many of whom do not have to pay the fees to attend outdoor lab their 6th grade year. And then finally, I'd like to highlight a partnership with our Jeffco Economic Development Council that's kicked off, and we launched Youth Leadership Jeffco in the last month. And this is in partnership with the EDC. Students from Lakewood and Green Mountain High Schools will be part of the inaugural class, where identified students will come together regularly as a cohort to study issues related to our county and to learn about leadership opportunities in the community. We appreciate the partnership and the opportunity to build this program with our Economic Development Council. So those are my updates, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Superintendent Dorland. Board, this is our opportunity to inform one another about what we have been up to of late. Is there any board member that would like to begin with their leadership report? Okay. All right, Dr. Barda.
I don't have a lot. I just wanted to, I was reminded over the last few weeks of how much time our teachers spend outside of school by attending 3 different conferences in the evenings with my kids and their teachers. Every single teacher knows our kids by name, how they're doing. They put a lot of time into prepping for these, so big thank you to our teachers and staff for that. And also, choir, orchestra, and band concerts have started as well. And so I've been attending a lot of those. And that takes us to the different schools in our articulation area. The janitorial staff stays, the administrators, the teachers are all there. So it's just really incredible. I've been really grateful, in addition to seeing how many people have come to the community meetings that we've been at, and the time that people have poured into writing us letters and staying after and talking to us. So I've just been really reminded over the last few weeks of how much happens outside of the school day that is so important to our kids for when they get back there the next day. That's really all I have. Just also thank you to our fellow board members and Superintendent Dorland for all the time that you all have spent doing this work. It's just been amazing to kind of watch how much time that everyone in the cabinet and staff have put into prepping for all of this. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Barda. Ms. Parker?
Thank you. I was able to visit some elementary schools this year for the second time after seeing them last year, so that is always fun. It's always pick you up for your day. I also got to see Montview. This is the first time that I visited there, which is for kids that are being detained or have been committed. It's a very, very different environment than our public schools. I was glad for the opportunity to see what's going on there, and I want to just give a shout out to all the staff that works there, the teachers that are working there. I think they're incredible. I got to attend at Warren Tech their Epidemic Week. I had not heard of it, but I guess they've been doing it for 12 years, where they bring together all kinds of their different forensic scientists and their medical careers personnel to simulate an epidemic. And now how, what a coincidence that we had one recently. So some of the students there have actually been through a real one, not just a pretend one, but that was very eye-opening. And I continue to be excited by the opportunities that our 3 Warren Tech campuses offer for our students. And I've been trying to brainstorm ways of getting more students knowledgeable about it, realizing that the middle schools have the tours of Warren Tech. They get very excited, but they don't have the opportunity to actually go there for a few years. And I think there's a little delay in there where the excitement, we've lost the excitement opportunity. So I'd like to see some ways that we can re-engage kids closer to the junior, senior years. I attended a SAC meeting and a PTA meeting at Pfeiffer Elementary, which was very bittersweet. It's one of the schools that is on the list of 16. A PTA meeting for a school that's not looking forward, but is looking nostalgically at the things that they've done. It was an eye-opener for me. And I want to just say that I appreciate so much the parents who are taking the time to reach out to all the board member and the districts. I am a fierce advocate for parents advocating for their kids. I think it's the best thing you can do. I will always respect you no matter what you have to say to me. So I hope that you'll continue with your advocacy. And I have been attending the community conversations as well. They vary greatly, as you can imagine, from area to area. So I know we're going to have a very busy week or month coming up too. So I'm looking forward to that work as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Parker. Ms. Reed.
Okay, I'm also short and sweet here. I did have a chance to go to the Green Mountain Community Connections meeting, and I was really excited to hear at this particular meeting all of the articulation area PTAs talking about doing events together, and then spreading that money throughout the articulation area. And I think we have enough areas that have quite a bit of disparity socioeconomically, and so seeing those more the stronger socioeconomic areas sharing resources with the ones that struggle a little bit more is really inspiring to me. That they care about every kid in that area. So I think that's pretty special. And they also raised over $10,000 at their annual gala for Green Mountain High School. So that was pretty exciting too. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go. Maybe next year. I had the chance to visit Mitchell, Shelton, and Kiffin, and saw some really great ways that kids are getting opportunities for more fresh air because we have this beautiful Colorado sunshine that we enjoy. One school, we had students engaged in project-based learning by planning a new Gaga ball pit, which was not a thing I'd even heard of before, and so it's quite a thing, and it requires like the building of like a whole little walled-in area, and the parents are getting involved and the kids are getting involved. And then another school, there was the foundation laid for a new outdoor classroom. So they're working their way toward getting that done, and lots of great plans for it. I too continue to be grateful for community involvement in the regional opportunities. And I know that this is a really hard process for everyone. And I think sometimes there's a perception that we've done this lightly, or that we haven't really put a lot of thought into it. And nothing could be further from that. And we do value community feedback. And so in November, we'll have made a decision one way or the other. We'll have to move forward one way or the other. And I genuinely hope that people who have been involved in these meetings continue to be involved in the process in whatever way that it goes, because I think that's really important to our students' success.
Thank you, Director Reed. Director Miller?
Yes, thank you. I do first want to thank the community members that have invited me for one-on-ones and have taken time to talk with me about their concerns, as well as those that have taken the time to come to our school meetings to discuss the proposed consolidations for our elementary schools. I think we all can agree that these conversations have been hard, productive, emotional, thoughtful, and constructive. I think we can go through all of the emotions on that. None of this is easy, as we well know. I also want to say this work can't be done well if we don't work together and keep trust and transparency at the heart of all that we do. And I think we all know that the stresses that our school leaders and teachers have had to navigate last year as well as this year. And we've had to have renorming of behaviors, as noted earlier this evening with our safety discussion, and the recentering for our children's and students' conversations to be respectful with teachers and administrators and staff and their peers, as well as respecting the physical property of our schools and facilities, as well as our students honoring dress codes and policies that we have in place to keep them safe and well educated in our buildings. Those are just a few, I think, of the challenges that we've been facing, and I really want to thank the principals and staff for all that they've been doing, because it has been daunting and a heavy lift. I want to also say thank you, or recognize our parents, and thank them as well, because they've been walking through this with our community, and I hope that they will continue to engage with us. Those who agree with the work that we are doing, and those who feel strongly that we are not necessarily in alignment with them. We cannot ignore one voice over another, but rather find common ground. We have to acknowledge that we may not agree on all of the issues, but we are all committed to preparing all of our children to thrive in the 21st century economy after they leave Jeffco schools. That is our job. And the common cause must guide our honest conversations, our behaviors, and respectful engagement with each and every one of us. And so I want to thank people for staying engaged, for respecting each of us, and us hopefully respecting you as well. We've got a little bit of work to do moving forward, and I hope we can walk hand in hand together. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Miller. So I'll round it out by thanking board members, cabinet members, other staff, district staff, the superintendent, our families, community members, for engaging in a difficult process around regional opportunities and really spending the time to listen. I too have tried to be as responsive as possible in terms of meeting with individuals, groups, the more formal community meetings that are being hosted at our school sites, to be able to really hear about those concerns, hopefully sometimes have answers to the concerns that come up, and fulfill my role as a listener in the community. I also want to, just as a reminder to everyone, we have the resources in terms of data, PowerPoints, presentations that the board is receiving that are also posted on the district website for regional opportunities. So when there are questions that come up, the average person has no need to know how to navigate board docs. So having them on the website hopefully will provide better access to community members, school communities, as they have questions that come up. So I just encourage, as a general plea, for folks to be able to direct people to the website where some of that that information lives, so we can all have the same information that we're working from. And lastly, as Superintendent Dorland mentioned at the RSA awards and recognition breakfast, which was really awesome to be able to attend once again. I just want to highlight the work that's being done in so many corners of our district that we just don't know about sometimes because they're not elevated in the same way. Michelle Gonzalez, who's a suicide prevention coordinator for the district, was a speaker at the RSA event. And I, first of all, I'm not a crier, and did in public because the way in which Michelle talked about the work that they do to really see our students and to give voice to those unique needs that some of our students walk in the door with that can be barriers for them to truly be successful and to be their whole selves, and how we have so many district staff that are seeing our kids and responding to them in ways that are so critically important for their growth, their development, their learning, their identities, for their whole child self. And so I just I want to say thank you to all of the people, and that's just one example because she spoke so beautifully about the work that she does, and it was very heartfelt. You could tell that it's not just a job, it's a passion. And I know that that's happening across our district. So I greatly appreciate that work that's being done. Are there any other comments or questions or last things that folks want to make sure are out on the table? Okay, that brings us to the end of today's agenda. We will be adjourned. Our next meeting is a study session scheduled for November 2nd at Oberon Middle School that will also happen in conjunction with some public comment around regional opportunities. Thank you all for your work. Thank you for participating as community members and parents. Have a wonderful night.